When I left my job, I had one single goal: to feed my family of 4 on just 1/8 of an acre. And now it's the middle of winter and I have one question: did I grow enough for self-sufficiency, or did I miss the mark? My biggest failure this year was my onions, and embarrassingly so, I actually grew 600 onions this year and I got nothing to show for it, and it's only January. I didn't even lose them to rot or pests or anything. It was because of my toddler. I absolutely love having my kids down the allotment with me, but you do have to pay a toddler tax, and sadly little Andrew absolutely loved harvesting them. Didn't matter how big they were, small onions, big onions, he was pulling them out by the handload. So we did lose quite a few onions this year to that. So after canning all of our winter crops, we only had about 90 onions left for the whole winter period, which isn't enough for us. We go through a ton of onions, although I googled it and it does say that really for a year you only need like 20 onions per person. Who eats that few onions? If you're cooking everything from scratch, then you do use a ton of onions, garlics, etc. And to be honest, just yesterday alone we ate 2 huge onions because I love them baked with butter and spices and stuff. They're really good, but it's like the foundation of most of our meals. So it is a little bit of a fail that we're now going into late winter and we've got absolute months left. We do have some leeks down the allotment, which means that we can swap over to them, but they're not my absolute favourite. I do prefer onions to leeks, but it is what it is. So next year we're definitely going to be going into winter with a lot more onions. I've already bought seeds for about 900 onions, so it should see us through. Hopefully I might even have to net them to keep Andrew off of them. But it means that we have enough for all of our canning, which obviously is quite substantial, and for fresh eating throughout the winter. To add insult to injury, we actually got some of the onions being wasted. We did have an onion rot here, and I'm not sure why it is. If onions are cured correctly, which I think they were because most of them were absolutely fine, they do store for absolute months, but I don't know, there must have been something wrong with it, the way it was harvested or whatever. It rotted. It was one of the huge ones as well. Sometimes if they haven't toppled over properly, then they do get rot because they haven't sealed correctly, so it could be that. But next time I'm definitely going to double down and grow way more onions than I did this year because I just ran out so early. But it's always a learning curve, isn't it? Another thing I realised is when I was bringing them from the cold garage into the house, because of the change in temperature, they did start to sprout. So I was having to bring only a few up to the house and use them quite quickly, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. We don't have the perfect storage place for onions. This is what we have right now, and we do our absolute best. Okay, so when one crop fails, you always have another one that kind of is your safety net, and that was our potatoes. We grow an absolute ton of potatoes. I think we had 4 beds this year. 2 of them were much larger than the others, and sadly one of them failed. We did have a terrible drought this year, which made potato growing not ideal, but we still got an absolute ton of potatoes from our other 3 beds. And the issue with our 4th bed was basically I didn't take into consideration the trees that are on both sides of that bed, which took a lot of water out of the soil, and I think the soil was just generally poor quality. I've never grown there before. It was where our big compost heap was, so I was assuming that it'd have really good soil, but obviously I didn't put enough into it. So this year I'm going to be growing blueberries on there, which I'm really excited about. But we do have quite a few of these potatoes left. Now, as you can see, this is not the ideal sort of conditions for potatoes, but this is what I do. It is the cheapest and best way that I could actually think of growing potatoes without spending thousands on like specialist equipment. We don't have that sort of money here, right? So this is a crate that I actually got from my mother-in-law. It's just like a old delivery crate. I don't know where she got it from. And these are Hessian sacks. So I have big Hessian sacks, and I don't keep them in Hessian sacks. We used to, as kids, get huge bags of potatoes from the local farmer in Hessian sacks. And one of my first memories was like digging through, grabbing potatoes for my mum for dinner, and it's just like at the bottom when they had gone off was just absolutely foul. So I like to have them out like this so I can really check through them and make sure I don't have any damages. If you grow your own food, you know that stuff like that can get infected and go squishy. So I really like to be able to look all the way through my potatoes and make sure they're absolutely perfect. Now, like I said, this isn't the best way of storing potatoes. The Hessian sacks go on top and really do stop the light, and I put it all the way back into this cupboard. And to be honest, mostly the light's off here, so it is quite gloomy, but it's just not gloomy enough because they start to sprout. And every so often I just go through and I break off the sprouts like this. Now, I know some people are really uncomfortable eating potatoes that are sprouted, but to be honest, I grew up eating potatoes that are sprouted, so it really doesn't bother me. But if it bothers you, then you're not going to eat these. They're absolutely fine. I know some people say that they are actually poisonous once they've sprouted, but I just cut that little hard bit out, and I mean, I've been fine. This is not medical advice. I'm just saying, me personally. So I go through and I just cut them off, and they've worked out really well. Ideally, I think next year, if I harvest them a little bit later, they'll probably store a lot better. The thing is, I was quite in a rush to harvest them because it became really wet around about October time. And the thing is, here at least, you have to find that balance between having a harvest that isn't attacked by slugs, but is a little bit too early so they sprout more, or a harvest that's later, but it's been attacked by slugs. And to be honest, I had like 0 slug damage this year. I don't think I got hardly any of them damaged. The only damage really on my potatoes is where we hit them with a fork. I think it's really important to understand that you don't have to have the perfect equipment, you don't have to have the perfect layout or the perfect walk-in fridge or whatever to grow your own food. You just need to get started, and you'll find ways of how to store food for a very long time. And the thing is as they get squishy or they start going off, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to pressure can them and have them on the shelves. Pressure can potatoes are so convenient because you can mash them, fry them, chip them, whatever you need to do with them, and they're already peeled and cooked. So that is an option. Some people do freeze them, but I do find that when you freeze potatoes, they do have a weird taste to them. So I'm not a massive fan of that. But there are plenty of potatoes to see us through until, well, until probably spring. So next year I'm definitely going to grow a few more potatoes to make sure that we have enough all the way through until next season. Any sort of wrinkly potatoes I'm going to take out and I eat them first. So I'll go through them and take all of the like blemishy ones out and eat those like in the next week or so. This is the ones from the last harvest. These are absolutely perfect because they were the last ones to come out. None of those have sprouted, which just shows you, doesn't it, that if you leave them a little bit longer, then they're absolutely fine. Oh, look at this one, huge. The issue you have with potatoes is when you have a drought, the potato actually sets its skin. So the skin becomes really hard, so they can't actually grow any bigger. That's why we've got so many little potatoes in there, because I didn't water them enough and they set in their size. So lots of the potatoes this year were quite small. Found the bigger ones were actually in our no-dig beds, because we did no-dig and we did tilled beds. And I have to say, hands down, the no-dig bed did really well this year, and we got absolutely tons out of it. Now, storing potatoes, you really can store them however you like. The only thing I will say is they have to be really well ventilated. In a place where there's not really any airflow, they can give off a toxic gas that can make you quite ill. So it is really important that you just make sure they're ventilated. That's nothing to worry about. Storing potatoes is not scary at all. Everyone can do it, honestly. But you just have to bear that in mind. But overall, I have to say, I am quite happy with the potatoes this year. Could they be better? Absolutely. But they're absolutely fine for now. Some of my potatoes do have scab on them, which does make them store a little bit less, but they're absolutely fine to eat. Real food is dirty and ugly, but nothing tastes better than a potato that you've grown yourself. Now, ideally, this place would be a little bit colder and a little bit more humid for my potatoes, but I think we have just enough potatoes to see us through till roughly about March. Now, if we do run out of things, which does happen, then we just go without. We'll just use something else. We have an absolute ton of frozen pasta that we made with our own chicken eggs. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is sweet potatoes. And to be honest, this is a really new thing to add to our long-term storage. I've grown these once before and I had a horrible harvest, and I'll explain why in a little while. Honestly, the secret to growing sweet potatoes is just mind-boggling. But I picked up a sweet potato from Costco's. I love Costco's, as you know. I sprouted it in water and then transferred it to soil, and I can't believe how well it grew. I was shocked. I ended up with about 10 slips that I put into a kind of a old janky bed that I hadn't had time to sort of revamp, and it grew so well. And I think that's why I did so wrong the first time I did sweet potatoes. People that do sweet potatoes and get 0 sweet potatoes, the thing you're doing wrong is that you're being too nice to them. I had a bed which had no fertiliser, it had no fresh compost, anything like that. It had junky old soil from the year before, and they grew so well. I really do think that sweet potatoes prefer a looser and poor soil, so they don't have so much nitrogen that all they get is leaves. I'm telling you, this year I genuinely thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get anything out of there. And I even let it go absolutely crazy with the weeds, and it was beautiful. These are the only sweet potatoes we have left. I am going to keep one of these bad boys for our slips next year. One of you told me that I do want to keep a smaller slip, so I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. I really like this one, but I've been told it's too big, so I'm probably going to use a smaller one for my slips this year. I'm definitely going to grow these again because these have been really fun to grow, and I use them for all different things. My family hates sweet potatoes, but they do like sweet potato energy bites with like chocolate chips in them and things, so I kind of hide them in there and they eat them fine. Do have some injuries, and that is our fault. That's us with a fork. As you can see, it is quite janky and gross, and it's starting to go soft, so it is something that I'm going to pull out because I don't want them to rot in here. When you're saving your own food, you do need to make sure that you're looking through and just having eyes on them and pulling out anything that you think, there's something wrong with that. Either using it straight away or binning it. I think most of that is usable. It's just the end that's gone a bit weird. Sweet potatoes, when cured properly, do last for like up to 10 months. I don't think I did a really great job. And to be honest, I did kind of just dump them on the table and hope for the best. Next year, I'm going to do better because every year I try to get better and better and better. And what I'm going to do differently is I'm going to increase the humidity. Sweet potatoes really like a humid environment to cure. So the easiest way I've found to do this, and obviously the cheapest, is I'm just going to lay them out like I did before and put a carrier bag over the top of them. And this will really lock in that moisture, which will make them even better storers for next year. And hopefully I'll get even more because I'm going to double down on how much space these bad boys have. I'm very proud of these though, because it's the first year that I've grown so many and we've eaten absolute tons of them. Sweet potatoes, chips, amazing. Let me know, how do you eat sweet potatoes down below? Another root vegetable which I'm really proud of, and we've been growing a year's worth of this for absolute years, is our garlic. Garlic's probably one of my absolute favourite things to grow down the allotment, is because you just set it and forget it, and honestly it takes like no maintenance. Just make sure it's really well weeded and it will grow beautifully. I fertilise it 2 times a year, so not like hardly at all. Once when I plant it, and I just give it another handful when it starts to sprout out the ground, so about this time, and it's just, honestly, it's no trouble at all. You can grow loads of it and it really does take no time at all. This garlic we've been storing for 8 years and it is beautiful. I don't know what variety it is, but we do have quite a lot left and a ton down the house, probably about this much in the house as well. I grow a load of garlic because I like to have enough garlic to replant every year. I don't buy it. Buying garlic bulbs to actually sow is super expensive, but honestly when you're growing your own food and you're cooking everything from scratch, make all the difference in the world to flavour and really enjoying your food. But this is always so exciting to have. I keep all of the worst bulbs for eating, so although these do look really small, I keep the biggest and the best ones to replant every single year, which means that they are bigger and better each year. I got amazing garlics this year and I was so proud of them. They were huge, and obviously I broke them up and put them down the allotment, and we have 3 beds of garlic already starting to sprout. And the absolute star of the show, the piece de resistance, is my tomatoes. My tomatoes are honestly the reason I got into gardening. I love growing tomatoes so much obviously. I can a lot of tomatoes, and to be honest, I had an automatic canner this year, and I'm telling you right now, I don't know how I ever canned without it. It was so easy. I literally set and forget it. I didn't have to worry, didn't have to watch it bubble. It literally has a timer, it gets up to temperature, it boils along, and it turns itself off. So once it's kind of beeped, you go along, just hit the tap, it emptied out into the sink, and it was almost like someone was doing it for me. I really enjoyed canning season this year, so much that I genuinely thought at the end of canning season that I hadn't done enough, and I started panicking, because normally at the end of the summer I'm so exhausted. I've stayed up until midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning most nights, canning, preparing things to be canned, etc. And I genuinely thought to myself that I hadn't done enough, and I got myself in sort of a tizzy. And then I came out here, and you can see I've done amazingly. And honestly, it felt like no work at all. It's good to do all of the things and then also enjoy it. It's been a game changer. My canner, although Bob absolutely hated it being on the side, I have to say I absolutely adored the thing. It's probably my favourite thing that I own, gadget-wise. I love a kitchen gadget. When I first started gardening about 9 years ago now, I can't believe it's gone so quickly. My biggest goal was to be self-sufficient in tomatoes. So very quickly I was able to do that. I was actually able to do that with 6 plants, really well maintained, pruned and loved. Now I grow 125 tomatoes, all different varieties. Difference is now I grow heirloom varieties, which is my absolute passion. They are not as kind of prolific as your F1 hybrids. F1 hybrids is their cross to make sure that they have a really high yield, whereas heirlooms are so tasty. And I make everything now, from barbecue sauce to soups, ketchup, salsa, obviously tomato sauces, whole tomatoes, you name it. And I'm so proud. And the thing is because I grow so many different types of tomatoes, you can see how many different colours you've got on there. It's just packed full of vitamins and minerals. I'm so excited about it. To be honest, it doesn't look too empty because we really don't get into tomato eating season until about now. About January, we really do fall back on our tomatoes and start really going through them with curries, stews. I made a biryani tonight which had tomatoes in it. It's just all of our favourite food, like winter comfort, have tomatoes in them. So it's a really nice thing to have, and we absolutely smash through these all winter long. And I know what you're thinking. It looks like I'm like saving up for the apocalypse, but we won't get fresh tomatoes now until probably about July. So we do have to have quite a few on the shelves to last us the whole season. And we do not buy any tomatoes or any tomato products anymore. We only have what we have behind me, and it is the kind of backbone of our eating throughout the winter. This particular shelf here literally saves me hundreds of pounds. My food bill is so little compared to when I first started, and that's what it's all about. All I'm doing really is trying to reduce as much as I can what I buy from the shops. It's kind of like the dream of my whole entire, food store. But it isn't all brilliant. I'll show you the problem I'm having with my tomatoes. And this happens every year, and it's kind of my fault. You can see that on the outside of this jar there is mold, and it is grim and disgusting. This doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the actual tomatoes inside. They're still gorgeous. The issue I've had here is obviously it was a very late night and I didn't wash the outside of the jar correctly. And normally I give it a nice scrub down, but obviously I missed the whole entire rim around here. As long as the jar is fixed like this, you can't pull it off. This means it's air sealed, so this is all sterile inside, and it is absolutely beautiful. What I do is I come through and I'll just wipe it down again, and it'll be absolutely fine. There are a few like that in there, but it's not something I'm going to be worrying about. I know a lot of people worry about botulism, and a lot of people worry that their jars are going to pop and you're not going to notice. And I'm telling you, we came in here a few weeks ago and we moved all of this around and completely, utterly sorted out the whole entire space. And there was a jar that was unlidded, and as soon as we walked in, I said, something in here stinks. And it was literally like, what's that smell, you know? So we went around looking at the jars, and as soon as you picked it up, the lid came straight off. We've had 2 jars fail in the 9 years, 8-9 years that we've been canning. So it doesn't happen very often, and I use the cheapest lids. Now, I like to be completely honest with you, and although my tomatoes were an absolute win this year, sadly my fresh tomatoes really weren't. As you can see, they're totally grim, disgusting, and blech. And sadly, I did get advice from you guys, but I just didn't do it. I didn't have time, and I should have wrapped them individually so they weren't touching. As you can see, they're absolutely minging, and they are a complete fail. To be honest, I've been meaning to throw them away, but I wanted to do this video and show you guys that I'm not perfect. I think it's so important that, you know, we're really honest with each other. I could just hide them and say, yeah, they're great, I just forgot to show you them. I wanted to be honest, because when I first started and I got failures, and I went onto YouTube and I saw all these people with these beautiful gardens, not a weed in sight, completely clean and beautiful, and they have like 8 children, I felt like a complete utter failure. And I think it's so important that I'm honest and show you that I do have manky gross tomatoes in my garage, and it is what it is. What I'm going to do with these bad boys is I'm going to stick them in the compost. Any of them that are on the turn, I'm going to give to the chickens. I really don't think that giving food to my chickens is wasting food, because they give me eggs and they're amazing ladies. They deserve to get as much as possible. And also, composting is a must-have. I really benefit from having free compost. As you guys know, I try to garden to close to zero as possible. So if I don't have to buy something like compost, which some people spend hundreds of pounds on, then I have more money to do things like spend time with my kids, etc. Now, will I try this again next year? Maybe, but I'll definitely be taking your advice and individually wrapping them in newspaper. So if you do have any advice for my fail of green tomatoes, please let me know down below. This is all of our jam, and to be honest, it is a big win. Our strawberry patch is ginormous. To be honest, I probably could push it back a little bit. I did go ahead and pull all my strawberries out at home and make them a lot more spaced out, because you do get quite a lot of diseases if you put them too close together. But I really need to do that in the allotment as well. But I'm scared of doing both at the same time and then getting no strawberries. We're really relying on having strawberries. This particular strawberry is a little bit of a fail, and I'll tell you why. So I decided to keep the pulp in to make like jam instead of a jelly. My family are really particular about strawberry jam. They only eat strawberry jam, and they only eat strawberry jam in certain ways. So this is the normal strawberry jam I make, and this is the strawberry jam I made this year. This strawberry jam I'm literally keeping for a special occasion. Probably break it out on my husband's birthday or something, because they'll eat this in like a day. But this one they don't like because of the pulp in it, and next year I'm gonna have to strain it. As you can see, this is the strawberry jam they like, and this is the pulpy gross stuff that they literally refuse to eat. There's nothing wrong with it. It literally just has the seeds and the pulp in it. It is delicious, but I should have just skimmed that off, and I just didn't. Normally what I do is I skim that off and I put it in pies, etc. Got so many strawberries this year that I kind of got a little bit overwhelmed with them. I think we got about 27 kilos of strawberries this year, and if you know anything about strawberries, you literally have days to harvest and preserve them. So I have a ton of them in the freezer, and the rest I made into jam. To be honest, we will get through this jam. They're still eating it, they're just moaning about the bits. But next year I will definitely take the time to strain it, and I'll make all of that pulp into either strawberry wine or strawberry jam, and it will be absolutely spot on and amazing. They'll be very happy. Other than jam, the other thing that we can that's really sweet and delicious is apple pie. Apple pie is probably, well, is my family's absolute favourite pie flavour, and I did it 2 ways this year. We don't actually have apple trees, or we didn't last year at least. We get all of our apples from friends that have donated from us. We watched their plot for about a month, gave us like almost a year's worth of apples, and we spent the afternoon, me and Jasmine, peeling them, cutting them and preserving them, and it did take forever, and it just got an absolute deep passion for me because my grandma had an apple tree. I talked about this in my last video, but it really makes such beautiful memories for me, and I really want to pass them down to my kids. So we did that together and it was so fun, and I decided to get 3 more trees. So this is going to be something that we're going to be self-sufficient in, and it's so easy to make and so delicious. But saying that, I did them 2 ways. I was a little bit nervous about using cornstarch in my canning because you're not actually meant to use cornstarch in your canning, and I did go ahead and buy what I thought was the cornstarch that you needed, but it turns out I bought the wrong one. Used it anyway. This is like an instant cornstarch. I'm not suggesting you use it, do your own research, but it's worked beautifully, and this is the one that I'm going to put cornstarch in later. As you can see, all of the cinnamon didn't stay in, it's all at the bottom and it's all kind of like liquidy. This is beautiful, I'm telling you. We make it into pies. I actually made a load of cinnamon waffles today, and I put a side of this, you know, so that it goes on top of the cinnamon waffles. It was delicious. The kids absolutely lapped it up for breakfast. So it is something that I'm definitely going to continue making, and I think these jars are so cute and beautiful. They're like terribly cheap as well. This is something that I'm really proud of, and I really do want to consistently make. Think sweet treats. I like to move away from all of the shop bought stuff because it's just full of rubbish, and have some more homemade treats like pies ready and available for my family. Talking about sweet treats, this was a little bit of a fail, but honestly, if I didn't have this fail, I wouldn't have been able to do as well on my apples. And these were our peaches. It was the first time we ever harvested peaches, was last year. It was absolutely amazing. They smell amazing and they just are amazing. And we chopped them up and got them ready for canning. But what we didn't realise was we should have really had the syrup as a rolling boil when you scald the peaches to stop them being like floating to the top and you get more into the jar. But when we put the peaches in and the water wasn't scalding, we kind of like overcooked them, so they are a little bit smushy, which is absolutely fine. It is what it is. But our absolute favourite thing to eat is tin peaches. So we were super excited about this, and it has fallen a little bit short, but we're hoping next year we're going to get an even bigger harvest, and we're going to do even better with these. Every single year you're learning, and every single fail like this or the jam or the onions is something that I've learned, and next year I won't be making the same mistakes. To be honest, I'll be making different mistakes, but I won't be making the same mistakes. And this is one of the things that I really love about gardening, is it is challenging, but there's so much reward in it, even if you're stuck with a little bit squishy as peaches. One of the things we grew and canned, which was an absolute success, was our pickles. Now, I've tried to grow pickles for years and absolutely failed. I honestly got to the point last year that I was like, right, I'll make these pickles, but I don't expect them to be any decent. And to be honest, Jasmine wouldn't eat any of the pickles I made before. And I made a sweet pickle brine with some of the herb that my friend got me from back home. She went back to Latvia and her mum made me this spice mix, which was amazing. And I followed her mum's recipe, and it honestly was the perfect pickle. It was sweet and it was a little bit sour. It was absolutely perfect. We've been eating them in burgers. We've been making, well, trying to make some Big Mac sauce, etc. with them. They're absolutely amazing. And to be honest, every time I bring a jar down, Jasmine absolutely devours them. And this is them here. They're absolutely lovely, and they're so easy to make. But the thing that made them so special this year, and I've tried absolutely everything. I've tried grape leaves, I've tried bay leaves, you name it, to keep them crispy. And what I did was I did cold or low heat water canning with them, which is a game changer. So instead of doing them at 100 degrees, I did them at 85 degrees, and I'm telling you, they've got the crunch, they have the snap, they're absolutely perfect. And look at them, and I'm so proud of them. Every time I take a jar down and I use about 5 or 6 for our dinner, the whole jar's gone. Jasmine and Andrew are like walking around crunching on them. So I'm going to definitely double down on this recipe and make way way more next year and make sure that I'm growing a ton of different pickles. Save my own pickle seeds as well, because pickles are really expensive to buy seed wise. Maybe I should do a video about all of the things that I've canned over the years were an absolute disaster. That might be quite fun for you guys so you don't make the same mistakes. Let me know down below if it's something you'd actually want to see. So I've shared with you some of my most embarrassing storage failures, so make me feel a little bit better. Join the conversation down below. What have you stored really badly and what have you learned? Let's learn together so we don't make these mistakes again. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye, and make sure that you're subscribed.